Good day everyone and welcome back to the Overcast Gamer Show. My name is Abe Foster and I'm joined as per usual by Reagan Harper.
Hello.
And Balthazar Valentine.
Hello.
And we've got another jam-packed show for you today. We're going to go through some just what's been up in our lives really. We like to start the show off quite informally and just sort of have a bit of a ramble and a rant about what we've been doing. Talk about a few things we've been playing, and then we actually do have one pretty big news story that's been all throughout social media sphere this for the last week, so we'll get into that. All to do with the IGN writer and a little bit of plagiarism. But we'll kick things off with what we've been up to. So I'll start things off. I've been, I live with one other person at the moment. I'm not full-time employed. I make a little bit of cash walking dogs on the side. Just, you peek behind the curtain of my life at the moment.
Basically living the dream. Yeah, you're living the dream.
Living the dream with incredibly slow internet. And so what I've been doing, I live out in the Wop-Wops. I don't have really people, I don't have friends. We'll put it out there. I don't have friends over here yet. So what I've been doing is going into Glasgow. The closest, it's close. I have Edinburgh and Glasgow both near me. Edinburgh is about an hour away, and Glasgow is probably about half an hour, 40 minutes away, so it's a little bit closer.
Sweet.
And I've been heading off into the big haggis, as I've heard it referred to, and meeting up with some fellow video game enthusiasts at a brewery, the Drygate Brewery. Shout out to the Drygate Brewery, they're awesome. And had a great time, had an awesome time, meeting some people, socializing with people. I'm not generally the sort of person who would put myself out there hugely. That being said, I have, buggered off from New Zealand twice now just because I felt it was the right time.
When I heard you'd gone, Abe, I was quite impressed, to kind of seek this out. But then I guess, like you say, you've got no friends, so you've got to do some things to meet people. What was it like? Yep. I want to know, what was the moment like where you first walked in? Did you just kind of sidle up to some people and be like, hey, what's going on?
Well, yeah, right. So I'm an overthinker, overanalyzer extraordinaire. So I generally I can't stop myself thinking about myself thinking, and it drives me to the point of insanity sometimes. So, I'll set the scene for you, Reagan. First, I got off. I'll paint a picture with my words. So, I got off the train in Glasgow. Lovely airport. I actually really like the Glasgow Queen Street. Not airport. What am I saying? Railway station.
Got off the train. Picture here, Abe.
Yeah, there's planes and trains and automobiles.
I'm already confused by this. That's all right.
Let's start that again. I got off the train, Glasgow Queen Street station. Okay.
Okay.
It was a lovely overcast day in Scotland.
Excellent.
I had a few hours to kill. Now, originally the plan was for me to go and see The Incredibles 2, go and get a burger, and then head over to the Drygate Brewery for the video game meetup. Now, that didn't quite work, unfortunately, as the train was quite severely delayed, so I was unable to make my screening of The Incredibles 2. So we canned that part of the plan. And I just went down to Five Guys Burgers and Fries, got myself a lovely burger, got myself a lovely milkshake, and there was a dude with a Blink-182 tattoo, and I told him that was a great tattoo, and we had a nice yarn about that. That was sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I sort of went for a bit of a walk. There's two video game bars or barcades, as I've come to know them as. Apparently that's the official term. In Glasgow. One is called Super Barrio, which I think I've mentioned on this podcast before. Awesome place. And another one is called Arcade. That's the letter R and then just the, Cade, C-A-D-E.
Cool.
I walked past Arcade. It was actually jam-packed full of people, and at this point I probably had 20 minutes or so to get to the brewery by, the meetup was at 7 p.m, I believe. It was about 6:40, 6:45, something like that. So I was like, okay, I won't go in there this time, but I just wanted to have a look around and see, where it was and basically start building myself a mental map of Glasgow. So I went for a walk down there through that section of town, and ended up just heading back north up to the brewery. Barcade looked pretty cool. The Barcade, known as Arcade, looked pretty cool. And ended up at the Drygate Brewery. Now, when I got to the Drygate Brewery, I went inside, and on the event page it had said that a table would be booked for the video game meetup. Went up to the lovely hostess, said, what's where's the table for the video game meetup? She gave me this incredibly blank looking stare, and I wasn't too sure whether that was in reference to the fact that there hadn't been a table actually booked, or she just couldn't understand a word coming out of my mouth, which has happened many, many times since I've arrived in Scotland. It's quite funny. Every time, I don't get a second look, and then as soon as I open my mouth, people just gawp. Like, what alien language just came out of your gob? But it's quite funny. Everyone's very nice about it, and they're very intrigued, and they just want to chat. I love it here. I love the Scottish. They're awesome people. So there was no table booked. So she's just like, just go have a seat at the bar, and I'll let other people know if they come up and ask the same question. I'll let them know where you are. So okay, cool. So I went up to the bar. I got myself I asked the guy, what's good here? What's good? And he must have gone on for about 3 minutes, listing off all the beers and talking to me about them and stuff, and just all the brewing processes and stuff. Yeah. I love people like that. I found it incredibly fascinating. Ended up going with a Clementine IPA, which was really delicious, actually. I'm quite a fan of those sort of beers with a sour note to them. Sure. Not bitter, really. Most beer is quite bitter. It literally is bitter. But sour, has a sort of berry note in there or something like that. So I'm quite a fan of those. Yeah. Clementine IPA, highly recommend. Any listeners who happen to be from Scotland, check out the Drygate Brewery and their Clementine IPA. So I got myself a glass of that, sat down at the table, and just waited. Now, I've taken, I suppose I'm employing a little bit of mindfulness in my later years, where I will strive not to take out my phone if I'm waiting for someone, if I'm just killing some time. I try so hard just to do a bit of people watching, just have a look around the room, see what's going on.
Be present. Be present.
Exactly. Yeah. Won't pull out my phone. I won't be a slave to that bollocks. So just looking around, casually looking around. Eventually, anyone could be a video game person. I'm sort of looking around as people move into the come into the Drygate. I'm like, oh, this could be a video, because who knows? Everyone looks different. Video games attracts all sorts of people. So it's like, oh, is this person? Eventually, I had a lovely Greek lady actually come up and ask if this was the video game group. I don't know why. I wasn't wearing a gaming t-shirt. I was just wearing a sweater and some jeans. Must have looked sufficiently, nerdy or something. But she came up and asked if it was, and I said yes. And it turns out she's new to the scene, actually new to video games in general, and was just trying to get into it. So I thought that was quite ballsy in terms of, someone who's just getting into video games to come to a video game meetup. I was actually quite, impressed with that. That's
really cool.
It's taken me 28 years of being into video games to go to a video game meetup. So props to her for coming along. I guess
that's the sign of her not being primarily a gamer, right? She has social skills first and then gaming second.
This is true. Although, that being said, the people I met that night were mostly not awkward, to be honest. Mostly just, they weren't your basement dwelling types, as our stereotype seems to revolve around. Incredibly nice people, incredibly diverse crowd of people. There was a couple of people from England. There was a Greek lady, some Scottish people, all sorts, and just had a whale of a time. Really, just chatting up a storm with people. Met some other sort of content creators. Met some people who are in the PR business. This industry, boys, is booming over here, and it is so good to be in the middle of it all. It is fantastic.
Way to just rub it in.
I know. I just have to talk about it, because it's.
It's coming to fruition, right? Like, this was your plan, was to get over there and to immerse yourself a bit more. So that's awesome. That's freaking cool. Yeah.
Because it's back in New Zealand, it's all well and good. We had the video game. We're all interested in it. We knew some people who were interested in it, but it wasn't an industry. back home. It's never been. I had someone on the night ask me. It's funny. She said it's funny because I never hear any voices in terms of video games coming out from your side of the world, and I was like, huh. Yeah, no, we don't. we don't have the industry over. Like, yeah, we have some devs who make games. A few probably can count them on two hands, sort of thing. But we don't really have publications. We had NZ Gamer ages ago, and they've folded, and we don't have anyone who's taken their place, bar us kind of thing. And we try our best to do that, to fill that void. But yeah, it was interesting hearing it from someone else who's like, New Zealand doesn't have a voice in terms of the video games industry. So I'm trying my best, I suppose, to be in one way representation for New Zealand, and in another way just in amongst it all, just in the European scene. So
you should get a flag, man. You should get a New Zealand flag and just kind of wrap it around your shoulders.
Well, I'm trying to assimilate, Reagan. So probably not the best idea. But I'll take that into consideration.
I'll keep thinking on it, man. I'll keep thinking. I mean, your accent might be enough, but
people do.
Guy, so.
People do love the accent once they understand that I am speaking English. Just a very, very strange version of it. But that's what I've been up to, and bar that, next week off to Gamescom. Couldn't be more pumped for that.
Yeah, man, that's that's super exciting. And I understand that you're invited to something of a quite prestigious. Well, I don't know if prestigious is the right word. But, you've got an event to go to.
It's not too prestigious in that all I really did was I won't name the company because I don't want to pander or anything like that, but they put a shout out on Twitter. Anyone want to come along to our event? I sent them through an email with my quote unquote credentials, I suppose, and they sent me back an email recently and said, hey, yeah, you're invited, come along, give you a wristband, you're on the guest list, all that sort of stuff. Man, awesome. For someone who hasn't been in the video games industry yet, to in a professional capacity, that is incredibly exciting. So I'm really looking forward to chatting up a storm with a bunch of lovely people who are actually, do this on a daily basis. This is their career, this is their livelihood. Fantastic. Can't wait.
Yeah. Pumped to hear all about it from the opposite side of the planet. Yeah, I think so. At the moment, the plan is to I'm deciding whether to take my mic along and do an audio diary at the end of each day, or simply write up some notes after each day, sort of thing. Because I'll be there for 3 days, so I'm trying to figure out. And I've got an Airbnb, so it won't be a big issue to Although you probably won't be getting much from me on the third night, because that is the night of the party that I'm going to. So it's probably going to be less going on there. Yeah, lower productivity for that for sure. But yeah, those first two nights, I'm trying to figure out what'll work. But no doubt there'll be something coming to fruition. So keep an eye out on the site, overcastgamer.com, for everything Gamescom. Nice.
Yeah, so that's me. And before I move on, I just want to give a shout out to recommended reading, which we haven't done in a while. So I read quite a few video game related books nowadays. Previous recommendations I've had sort of The Masters of Doom, the chat about John Romero and the creation of that game and sort of where that game came from. I've talked about the Xbox 360 Uncloaked, which is the making of that console, which is fascinating read. Highly recommend. I've got another one tonight, which is called Critical Path, and this is by a bloke called Dan Amrich, or Amrich. I assume it's probably Amrich, with a foreword by Cliff Bleszinski of Gears of War, Jazz Jack Rabbit fame.
Man, that guy's everywhere, right?
He is, yeah. He's sort of the edgy. I suppose he's the edgy dev. Like when I think of edgy devs, it's Cliff Bleszinski. He's the one who quote unquote doesn't give a fuck and says his mind kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, this is called Critical Path: How to Review Video Games for a Living. Now, couldn't be more apt for what I'm trying to get into. Very, very literal title there, and I'm about, I would say, 50 or 60% of the way through this book. I bought it on Kindle and loving it. absolutely loving it. This guy's been in the industry for a couple of decades now. Has a lot of info on everything from freelancing, all the stuff you need to know about freelancing, all positions and publications, definitions of what all the positions, if you've ever wanted to know what editor-in-chief, executive editor, senior editor, junior editor, copy editor, all that shit means, this is a great book for it. Tell you all that sorts of stuff. And yeah, it's a really good read. It's not, it's not blocks of text. It's not didactic or anything like that. It's really easy to get through, and yeah, would highly recommend for anyone who's interested in the analytical side of video games, actually reviewing them and the business side of that as well. Would highly recommend Critical Path, how to review video games for a living. Video games, one word, and he actually gets into the debate about that as well. I come down on the side of it being 2 words, but hey, each their own.
Yeah, interesting. I'm interested in this book just for that debate.
There's a good wee passage in there.
Video game. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'll get back to you.
He sort of talks about the creative license that publications take and style guides and things like that. So yeah, very very interesting. There will be a link to this book, an Amazon link for anyone who wants to go check it out. You can get it physically or on e-reader, and you can also get it from the Book Depository, which is an excellent resource as well, which you can check out, and that delivers to everywhere in the world, including New Zealand. I've used them many times back when I used to live in New Zealand, and shipping is free, so check those guys out as well.
Nice one.
So that's me. What have you been up to, Mr. Harper?
Burgers.
Excellent.
Burgers is what I've been up to.
Nice.
For our international listeners here in Wellington, we have this thing called Wellington on a Plate. And what that is essentially like a city-wide food festival, and it's awesome. There's kind of 2 parts to it. There's Wellington on a Plate, which is essentially all the swanky restaurants around the region will do like a set menu, 3-course set menu. And then there's also the second part to it, which is Burger on a Plate, where all the not so swanky and some of the swanky places as well do a burger. So you'll get a burger, and there's usually like a set beer with it as well. And
right.
now is the time of year that is happening, and it's a special time of year. It's kind of like, when E3's on, and it's sort of like the equivalent of what Christmas used to feel like back in the day when you were a kid. It's like, there's special feelings. I'm starting to get that for Burger on a Plate, eh?
Nice.
Did you guys get into it? Because there's some people that go nuts, and when I mean there's lots of burgers, can you tell I'm excited? When I mean there's lots of burgers, there's you'd have to eat something like 30 burgers a day to get through them all in the month that it runs. There's a shitload of burgers out there. Did you guys get into Burger on a Plate when you were here, Abe and Balthazar?
I didn't, man. I always, I knew it was there. I knew it was around, and I always looked up, or someone would flick me through a link, and I'd see so-and-so's having a gourmet blue cheese caramelized onion burger with this and that, and always thought they all looked delicious. Pretty much, I didn't see a single one that I wouldn't have liked. But never got around to it. I remember that the burgers they're always a little bit more expensive than your regular burgers from those same outlets. Is that correct?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember them being about $20 or something like that. So I never really got into it, and I think at the time, when it came to I suppose when I stopped being a student is when I took notice of it, and when I stopped being a student, I moved out of the city, and I started living on the peripheral suburbs of the city. So I never really
hamstrung yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I would have loved to dive into that, because I do love me a good burger. But Balthazar, this something you're interested in, man?
Nah, it is cool. I'm not a connoisseur of it. My price range, $16.80 is the most I'll pay for a burger.
Very specific.
Where does that number come from? Where does
it's the exact price of the best burger I've ever had. And I've had stuff that costs more than it, and it wasn't as good. So I set $16.80 as the price
I'm
point.
Intrigued by
Fair play, man.
$16.80 is a chicken, camembert, cream cheese, bacon, garlic mayo, and relish and standard salad and everything like that burger.
From where?
I don't even know where from anymore. It's some random cafe that doesn't. It's not known for burgers. Like, it's not a burger joint. They just also had burgers, and literally their menu for burgers was, we have buns. Tell us what foods from our other items on our menu you want in between the buns, and we'll make it for you.
That's pretty
amazing.
great.
And it's the best burger I've ever had, and it's $16.80, and I now, like, I don't know.
And
it might have been part of the burger on a plate thing, because it's such a weird sort of thing. Just, they don't normally do burgers, but for a while, you know, they were just like, yeah, just pick any items on the menu and we'll slap them in between buns for you. Like, it was, it might have been a part of that, but yeah, I've never gotten into it because it is just a wee bit on the pricey end. I feel like there's really good year-round Midway gourmet burgers around Wellington anyway. Like with places like Lucky Burger popping up and stuff like that, which I'm still a fan of that place. I know a few people had one or two and then got over it. I still think they do a mean burger. And then, of course, near them as well is a Burger Fuel and stuff like that. There are those Midway gourmet burger places all the time that just mean I never really have that desire for something more kind of thing.
Right.
That's fair. I'm gonna keep a good sharp eye on things and try as many burgers as I can. I don't know. I just enjoy getting behind the kind of novelty of it. So expect a good bit more burger chat as I over the next couple weeks. Just as a bit of forewarning.
Could we dare say venture into burger reviews, OCB?
Why not? This is all working.
Start turning some cogs and get some sponsorship from various burger outlets. Reagan, that's your job, mate.
Yeah, leave it with me. I'll sort that, lads.
We'll expect some audio, some burger audio reviews. I want to hear you eating the burger, and
Do you I mean, I can make that happen.
I want you to take a little Zoom recorder around with you, and I want to hear the whole transaction. I want to hear the small talk that you make. I want to hear the transaction, and I want to hear you eating the burger. And
I want to hear specifically how much they were, because if there's anything you find that you really like that's $16.80 or below, I'm in.
All right, cool. I don't
$16.80 just for any. I was just going to say, for any UK listeners, we might have been lucky enough to pick up $16.80. It's about £8, £8 or £9, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, okay, cool. Mission set. I'll see what I can do. I think to get the $16.80, I'll probably have to barter at the till, which I don't think will go down particularly well. But we'll see how we go.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing that really works generally in you know, most Western cities. I don't think you can really barter at fast food restaurants, or even, you know, mid-speed food restaurants,
or any food really, any at all.
Or any food. It's not sort of a bazaar selling rugs, so you can't really do that sort of thing when you're getting a burger. But we'll see. And look out for OCB coming soon. So let's get into what we've been playing, boys. So, Reagan, do you want to kick things off, man? I see you've been jamming some GT Sport.
So I have been playing GT Sport, which is, I can't remember. I think it came out last year, and
it was October 2017.
Oh, good shout!
Yep.
You got some Google in front of you.
Yeah.
My initial issue with this game was that it was kind of missing some of the key components that a Gran Turismo game, in my mind, should have, and that is kind of like a big chunky single player mode, where like the GT mode essentially, where you kind of play through a career and you go through just sort of, you start from the ground up, grassroots races and just little hatchbacks all the way up to kind of supercars and sort of buying your way through it. And that was missing in the original GT Sport. And I'd always kind of thought to myself, I'm going to go back and give that game another shot, but like it was just the fact that was missing that didn't quite sort of gel with me. But I've got a mate who also plays GT Sport like fairly consistently, and he kept bringing it up and being like, you got to give it another crack. So I went online, did a bit of Googling, and found out that they've actually done further releases, further patches to it, and it's added that GT mode into the game. So I was like,
oh,
yes,
nice.
sweet, I'm on board with this. So yeah, last couple nights I've been back on board, just getting my Gran Turismo on. It's been awesome.
Nice one, man. So my vague knowledge of Gran Turismo, because I played 2 at someone's house when I was about 12, and I 3 Gran Turismo 3 A spec came with my PlayStation 2, so that would have been about 2001, 2002 or something that I got that. So my vague knowledge of that game was you get a bunch of driving licenses. Then you can.
Yeah, the licenses are awesome. Yep, that's
Are
right.
the licenses still in GT Sport? Do you still have to go through that whole chicanery?
It's actually kind of interesting because it's kind of online focused. The licenses you have to do before they actually let you race online. So you have to do this little like driving etiquette thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the licenses, as you know them, are pared back. Like they're not as intense from memory, because I did the licenses back when it first came out. I'm just trying to cast my mind back. I don't think they're as intense as the licenses in the original games, but they're still there because they're kind of one of those core parts.
Okay.
For sure.
I remember the licenses being brutally difficult. Well, for me, back then, I remember the licenses being infuriating, and I don't even remember passing one, to be honest. I don't think I got one license, which does not bode well for my driving skills in general.
Yeah, that's concerning. It's concerning. But no, I think what makes a massive difference to the enjoyment of these games is having a wheel. Like if you've got pedals and a wheel, they are just totally different games. Like you go from controlling this car, which is just and the controller is just this barrier between you and the natural interface that a car has. And if you buy even just a cheap wheel and cheap pedals, they're so much better. I'm actually considering now. I'm not going to do it, but I'm considering buying a PSVR just for Gran Turismo Sport, because that would be a damn good time, I reckon.
Nice one, man. Nice. And looks like you've been checking something out on Tally or on Netflix probably as well.
Yeah. Rick and Morty. Are you guys have you Rick and Morty'd?
So I like the show. Let me start by saying that. I really like the show. I like everything I've seen. I hate the fan base.
Oh,
I
really?
really cannot stand the fan. One of the most toxic, obnoxious fan. Probably going to get a lot of hate for this. Depending on how many people listen to this. I cannot stand them. I cannot stand it. It's everywhere. They're toxic. They jump on people. Yeah. But I do love the show. I think it's
I don't think you can get hate for saying that either, except by the toxic members of the community, because the sane, rational members of the community acknowledge that when all that McDonald's Szechuan sauce fiasco went down, that everyone involved, except for the employees who were unfortunate enough to have to work at McDonald's during that incident, just everyone was a complete embarrassment and a disgusting example of a human being during that entire thing. And so the only people who would say that, no, you're wrong, the fan base is great, are the toxic asshats in the community that everyone hates to begin with.
Wow, man, I've really stepped on a beehive here. I didn't even know this was a thing. I just was like, oh, Rick and Morty, I'll just start watching it.
It's a good show, don't get me wrong. It's a really good show. It's Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, both incredibly talented people. The show is very funny. It has a nice sideways look at science fiction, and is even up there, around not quite Futurama levels, I would say, but it's pretty damn good. But the fan base, man, I can't stand it, and I can't stand how, I don't know, it's because of the fan base, it's become so widespread, and you see it on everything. You see T-shirts, you see lanyard, you basically see anything you can buy. Lunchboxes, I was going to say, although no one really has a lunchbox anymore, do they? Anything you can buy, they would have printed Rick and Morty on it. And anytime I see that now, I immediately think of the fan base instead of the show, and that's my own cross to bear. But it's really irritating.
Oh, that's a real shame, because I've literally just Googled Rick and Morty and have just been watching them. Zero contact with anyone other than right now. Just being like, I've been watching this show. It's funny. It's good. It has some interesting like concepts and things. Wow.
Man,
okay.
Maybe it's just because I sort of live on Reddit, but basically every thread for anything, one of the top comments will be a reference to Rick and Morty, and it does my head in. Because it's not even clever. It's just someone making a reference. Right. Yeah. Just a vaguely, tangentially related to what's being talked about in the thread or post. And someone will make a Rick and Morty reference and it'll have like 5,000 upvotes. I'm just like, what?
Time to start stalking all the subreddits Abe's subscribed to and just post Rick and Morty quotes on all of them to see if I get the top spot.
Please don't grief my subreddits.
Yeah, no, I reckon Reagan, absolutely, like, keep watching the show. It is a great show, but just don't tell anyone you watch the show. That's pretty much the rule for Rick and Morty. Enjoy it, but tell no one of it.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, I don't want to seem like a fun Nazi or anything like that, but I really don't like when the fan base gets together for that show. And you know, shows, there's been a myriad of those sorts of things in the past. You know, fan bases for many sort of things in geek culture can get really toxic really fast. But Rick and Morty is probably one of the best examples of that in action that I can think of in the last sort of 5 years or so.
Well, okay, well, forget I said anything.
Again, great show. Great show.
It's entertaining. Let's move on.
Alrighty, Balthazar, have you been playing anything, man?
Nah, not really.
Not really?
No, nah.
All right. Well, I'll talk about what I've been playing in that case. I've been playing as I usually do, one game. I've been playing Night in the Woods. I always want to call it A Night in the Woods, but it's called Night in the Woods. Now, this is I suppose it's a narrative adventure, is what you'd really call it. It's a game developed by a couple of dev houses, but more individual people. When I look at the list of people who developed it, it doesn't really place emphasis on the developers, more so the individual people. So we've got people like Alec Holowka, Scott Benson, and Bethany Hockenberry. All excellent names. And the developers are Infinite Fall, Secret Lab, and 22nd Century Toys, and published by Finji. So basically, I've never heard of all of those things. Yeah.
But actually, looking at it, they've done well because it's out on PS4, Switch, Xbox One, Windows, iOS, Macintosh, Linux, and Android. Like everything. That's impressive.
Well, it's one of those games that is not, there's not a huge amount going on in terms of graphical fidelity or anything like that. So they could probably quite easily port it to most devices, and power to them because I really enjoy this game. So imagine do you guys remember sticker books? Did you ever have sticker books back when you were growing up? Yeah,
big time. Yep.
So imagine a sticker book, the art style of that sort of thing, and imagine a world in which the characters resemble those sticker books on a sort of moving background, I suppose. And that's sort of what this game looks like. Then imagine the tone of a coming of age film, something like Stand By Me or Kings of Summer, any of those films where kids become adults or sort of learn that the world isn't all gravy and that things are going to be hard. Any of those sorts of movies. So imagine that tone combined with the art style of a sticker book, and then throw in a little bit of that, you call it mumblecore. It's sort of a genre of film where there's a lot of improv introduced into the dialogue. It's not a lot of it's not scripted. Things like Juno, or I think Kings of Summer was like that as well. And that's basically A Night in the Woods. So it's sort of like a teen coming of age story set in a sticker book universe, and I really, really enjoy it. Now, it's mostly about interacting with characters. It's mostly about the story. If you don't just want to, if you're not invested in the story, if you don't like the story, probably not going to be much here for you because there's very little in the way of mechanics. It's essentially a bunch of mini games and a bunch of character interactions, and that's basically the game, really. But I'm really enjoying it. All the characters are really, interesting, well fleshed out people, and well, not people, they're animals. Is the other thing I suppose I should probably mention. Everyone is animal. You could probably talk about this game for a while, write a whole review, and not even mention that they're animals, because it's just a coming of age story, and there's no real mention of, sometimes you'll see a handyman possum climbing up a pole or something like that, and there'll be sort of winks and nods to the fact they're animals.
Sounds like something that a possum would do. Like if I was to attribute a vocation to a possum, handyman.
Yeah, exactly.
Sense.
Yeah. There's also, it's a little bit confusing because there's also animals running around in the game in the wild. So you'll see everyone's talking about this giant badger that's shown up in town, and everyone's like, "Oh, don't go near the badger." So I don't know if that's like racial prejudice or something or what, but it's a bit confusing. But it seems to me like it's not like they forgot about that. It's like they didn't really care about the animal part of the game. They were more focused on making a good story and making a really interesting, thoughtful, piece of media that you can that sees something, and it sort of delves into themes of the story is you play as May, who is a college dropout who's come back to her hometown to live with her parents because she went to university, decided that's not what she wanted to do with her life, and had to retreat back to living with her folks. And I mean it's really quite sweet because no one really talks about failure. No one likes to talk about failure very often, but hey, it happens, and sometimes you do have to backtrack. That's just the way of the world. This game really delves into that idea and actually has quite a lot to say about it, and gets into ideas about being your own worst enemy, and the idea of not feeling like you belong in a place that you once did. Feeling like the world has changed, but the world has stayed the same, but you've changed, and that not really gelling anymore. And I'm really enjoying this game. I haven't finished it, but I feel like just towards the tone, concerning the tone of the story, I feel like I'm pretty close to the end. And really, really like it. I'll be writing a review for this, and it's highly recommend. I've got it playing it on PC, had no issues whatsoever. Go out and buy it. Night in the Woods, developed by all those people I mentioned at the start of the review. So
the people with the cool names.
That's the one.
I'm confused here because on the Wikipedia page for this game, which is the correct game, because it says, it's a story-focused exploration game, May, a recent college dropout, etc. Yep. However, in all the spiel, it came out last year, yet in December 2014, a supplemental game called Lost Constellation was released. How is it supplemental if it was 3 years prior? What?
That sounds like a Wikipedia screw-up to me. I'm not sure with it.
Either way, if you're enjoying this one, when it's done, apparently there's a supplemental game called Lost Constellation. So
excellent. Well, that's cool because I got the Lost. I assume to be the complete edition, the definitive edition on GOG, called the Weird Autumn Edition. So I will definitely be picking up the Lost Constellation Edition because looking for constellations is sort of one of the mini games in that game as well. Right. So that sort of makes sense. But yeah, really, really cool. I'm really enjoying this game. It's basically what I love. On the one hand, I love Donkey Kong and platformers like that, where it's just jump on things, jump on enemies, move along, collect things. And on the other hand, I like really good story-driven games, and this is the latter. So it's ticking all those boxes for me in terms of the things that I enjoy. So yeah, that's Night in the Woods. We will move on now. There is a couple of news stories I want to talk about. We'll start with the first one because I don't have a huge amount to say about this, though it is pretty awesome. The Smash Brothers Ultimate Direct was last week, and Nintendo ran up. They're usually pretty good with their directs, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. This was all about Smash. Everyone knew it was going to be all about Smash, so no one was getting up in arms like they were about the Nintendo E3 Direct or Treehouse or whatever that one was, where most of it was Smash, but everyone didn't know that was going to be the case. So everyone got a bit pissed off. But this was going to be all about Smash. They were going to reveal new characters, etc., etc. And they did indeed. They revealed Simon from Castlevania. Great name. I'm not hugely familiar with Castlevania, so when I found out the main guy was a buff dude called Simon, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it's just like, because there's scenes with him just like fully buff, just buffing out, like just being nothing but a buff guy, and then it's like Simon, like in big bold letters. Like, why is that the name they chose? Like back in the day when they were naming this guy, why did they go for Simon? Like,
nothing wrong with Simon, but it is it's not like Death Machine or anything like that. So,
my brother's name's Simon. It's a perfectly fine name.
It's a solid name.
Maybe not like a massive buff dude action hero name, you know?
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good moment.
So they revealed Simon. They also revealed his, I suppose, counterpart, Echo Fighter, what they call them, and they have Dracula in the game from Castlevania. Now that was pretty cool. I actually think the style they've gone with him is pretty sweet. He's huge compared to everyone else. He's absolutely massive, and he can sort of shoot. I suppose they're just balls of energy or whatever they are. But anyway, go and watch the Smash Ultimate Direct because I can't do it justice in describing it. I do want to mention that Simon has a pretty sweet Ultimate Smash where he wrangles a person into a coffin and just sort of throws them up into the air and smashes them on the ground. Pretty sweet. At the start of this, so before they sort of revealed Simon, they opened the Direct with a really awesome little cutscene, cinematic of Luigi from Luigi's Mansion. Like, not just Luigi, but Luigi's from Luigi's Mansion with his little pack on and everything, in the Castlevania castle, I suppose hunting for ghosts. And so I'm still kind of in shock as to what happened here. So Luigi stumbles across what looks to be an incarnation of death. He is dressed in sort of raggedy robes and he has a skull for a face and he's carrying a scythe. I'm going to assume is Death. Death kills Luigi or hits him with the scythe, rips his soul from his body, and Luigi, his dead corpse is just on the ground. And then, you think it reveals Simon, and Simon beats the crap out of Death, and, all that sort of stuff happens. And then at the end, it flicks back to Luigi, and he's just sort of, he's lying there. And okay, cool, so his soul's going to go, I think his soul starts to go back into his body or something like that. But it doesn't. And this giant moon thing, which again, not familiar with Castlevania, this is probably from Castlevania, this big moon thing comes up behind him. It's not the Majora's Mask moon, which we'll get to after, another moon, and just starts crying blood. And then that's the end of that, and it cuts away. The internet was in an uproar because Nintendo essentially killed Luigi.
I think maybe they were hinting that he didn't die because you could see his soul was sort of starting to go back into his body, but it was very brutal. Like it was
horrifying.
Scythe, and Luigi's dead.
Yeah,
dead.
My favourite mention of basically Luigi dying there was that because it was the Luigi from Luigi's Mansion where his mission is to stop all the ghosts and get rid of them, is that little snippet of him becoming a ghost made it all over our prequel memes on Reddit with people using the Obi-Wan quote, "You've become the very thing you swore to destroy," but showing Luigi going from fighting ghosts to becoming a ghost. And I just love that. That was an amazing crossover.
That's pretty fantastic. So our prequel memes is sort of a subreddit where they use stills and images from the Star Wars prequels to make memes.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I'll check that out. But so then we moved on and I suppose, did we have any more reveals? We had a bunch of reveals about moves and stages. Classic Nintendo, man. They were bragging about the amount of stages they had. They were bragging about the amount of music they're like. They had a little graph come up and they're like, "Oh, we've never had this many music tracks in Smash Bros. Before. This is what the other Smash Bros. Had. It's like 100, 300. Getting through Melee and stuff like that." And it gets up to Smash Brothers Ultimate, and the graph, the sort of bar graph, goes up, and keeps going up, and then smashes through the ceiling of the graph and keeps going up and goes up to like 800. I'm like, man, Nintendo, you're just showing off now.
Oh man, it's a funny thing to show off about. You know? It's like taking a toy to school and showing off about it, but then it turns out that none of the kids at school really care. You know,
hey, do you have a favourite track in Smash Ultimate? Sucks, you're never going to hear it twice. We got too much other shit to throw at you.
You're going to have to play it for like 60 hours to hear the song twice.
I mean, the music is amazing. Like, let's not beat around the bush about that. It's Nintendo music, which is always good. And this Smash Ultimate, as far as I can tell, has music from basically everything in there. Another thing they revealed is they have a music player now in Smash where you can formulate your own playlists from tracks. You can even turn the Switch into sleep mode. You know, put on a music track or a playlist, pop the Switch into sleep mode, and just listen to the music from your Switch, which is a cool option to have as well. They demonstrated this by having this lovely Japanese lady put her earbuds into her Switch and sort of switch it to sleep, and then just put it in her handbag with no case, no protector, nothing. Just pop it in her handbag and walk away. I thought that was quite funny. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, or will ever see anyone do that. But you know, it's available for you if you want it. I suppose that they just revealed a bunch more stages. They revealed the ability for stages to morph into one another, which was quite cool. Like, I'm not hugely familiar with Smash, but I know that this doesn't sound like something that you could do before. I don't remember this being something that you could do before, where stages could morph from one to the other halfway through the battle. Balthazar, you're probably the most versed in Smash, I would say, out of the three of us. Was this a thing you could do before?
Not really. There were a lot of stages that part of their thing was that they changed throughout the match, but stages didn't transition into other actual fully different stages that we know, different selectable stages. That seems to be new.
Right. No, so that's really cool, you know, mixing things up and bringing a bit of variety to the Smash matches, I should say. And then we got towards the end of the presentation. I think this might have been the very last thing, or close to the very last thing. So we had the developer talking about the game. The screen starts to shake a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's a bit dodgy, Nintendo. You usually have some pretty good quality control. I wouldn't have thought you'd let that through. The screen continues to shake, and it's obviously intentional by this point because the screen is violently shaking. We cut to a sort of the screen goes black, or it does the thing, you know, old CRT TVs used to do, where they'd vanish into a pinpoint in the middle of the television, and it does that, and we sort of zoom out. We cut to a giant agape monkey mouth with amazing set of teeth, I will say. You know, Donkey Kong in the past has had amazing teeth, but they haven't been individually modelled. This mouth has canines and everything. It was very impressive. You know, Nintendo's come a long way since the days of DKC1. We cut to Diddy Kong, who's sort of hanging out on a tire swing and it's creaking around, and then we sort of have a more revealing shot which shows Donkey Kong laying in front of the CRT television. Fabulous molded buttocks on that ape, I will say. You know, Nintendo has a weird thing with butts, and you know what they did with. Do you guys remember when Snake was introduced, and I think it was Melee, and they honed his ass quite well, and then there was a whole big thing, and now in Smash Brothers Ultimate, Snake's ass is quite more considerably flat, which is unfortunate, but yeah, DK. Anyway, great buttocks on that ape, and we, you know, they're in their treehouse, and DK is watching. He's just turned off the television. DK puts down a banana skin, classic DK. And the treehouse starts to shake. It sort of melds with what was happening before. The monkeys both go to the window, have a look outside. A big giant looming silhouette comes into view. The monkeys sort of like, oh, what the hell is this? And it's sort of the silhouette. So for classic DK fans, everyone knows King K. Rool. King K. Rool is the leader of the Kremlings, who were the original villains in the Donkey Kong Country series. They've since moved to the Tiki guys and the Snowmads, which are the penguins in Tropical Freeze. But King K. Rool and the Kremlings are the crocodiles from the Donkey Kong Country series. They are the original Donkey Kong villains, essentially. It's always been apes versus reptiles, for some reason. So it's revealed the silhouette has a crown on. At this point, I'm going, oh my god, it's K. Rool, it's got to be K. Rool, it has to be K. Rool. The silhouette is revealed, and it's King Dedede from Kirby, and he is just sort of dressed up in garb to make him look like K. Rool. King Dedede then flies around the screen doing that Japanese thing where they're laughing so hard they're crying, and they're sort of instant transmissioning around the screen. Essentially just being like, you fell for it, you dumbasses. And then he gets absolutely demolished by a giant reptilian hand. If you freeze frame it, you can see King Dedede's eyes pop out of his head in quite a horrifying still. And then it's revealed to be none other than the man himself. They did a fake out. It is King K. Rool. So we have King K. Rool from Donkey Kong Country in Smash Brothers. I am so stoked.
I love the extent to which they went to make that happen.
Yep.
As an announcement, like, well done.
It was pitch perfect. Like the way they did that was pitch perfect, and I have had such a fun time watching King K. Rool reaction videos on YouTube. There is some incredible. There is a level of fandom. Like, I'm a Donkey Kong Country fan, or a Donkey Kong fan in general, and there is a level of fandom far higher than my own. Like, they make me look like an absolute DK pleb.
Which is really saying something, because in OCG circles, you are the DK man, right? Like,
I will proudly go out and say that Donkey Kong, it's my favorite series. It's always I can't see anything taking over Donkey Kong. It's too iconic. It's too baked in my nostalgia at this point. I love everything about it. I love the soundtracks. David Wise, absolute mastermind behind the soundtracks. Incredible scores, incredible game. Everything about it is perfect, Reagan. I can't lavish praise on it enough. But there is a level of Donkey Kong fandom. There is. So since I watched this and since I started watching the reaction videos, I've been delving into Donkey Kong fandom, and there is fan sites. There is a podcast called The Conversation, in which they did the most recent episode is all about K. Rool, and it's 3.5 hours long.
Oh wow!
I'm going through and listening to that at the moment, and shout out to DK Vine, the makers of The Conversation. But man, those guys know their Donkey Kong, and it's a sound to behold. I really, really love it. So after playing through Tropical Freeze and after the revealing of K. Rool, DK's back, man. DK's back in the limelight, and I couldn't be more happy. Absolutely chuffed with that. So, amazing. I mean, is there anything else from the Smash Direct that comes to mind that you guys want to talk about?
Not from me, no. I only kind of watched, I'm going to be honest, I only really watched the first half. Like, I don't know why, I'm just not hugely hyped for Smash Bros, which is a weird thing, I know. Like, people who are Nintendo fans should be, and I am a Nintendo fan, but I don't know. It just haven't really got me. So, yeah, I don't have too much to say on it, to be honest.
Well, I'm the same as you, Reagan. I'm not particularly high. I've never been a huge Smash fan. In fact, I like Mario. It's usually Mario Party or Smash, and I'm the Mario Party camp. I'm not particularly competitive, but I like Mario Party for all the different little mini games and stuff like that. But just the way that the Nintendo presentations are always a sight and sound to behold. So I'll watch any Nintendo presentation, no matter what it is, and if they're going to talk about Smash for half an hour, shit, I'll sit down and watch that, because I know there's going to be weird things in there that I'm going to glean a lot of enjoyment from. So I'd recommend going back and watching the whole direct, just because it is a lot of fun to watch, and you're just every couple of minutes you're just like, what the hell? what is that? Why did they do? And then you'll cut yourself off with another. Oh, okay. So,
all right.
yeah.
Well, I'll go back and watch it.
Entertaining watch. Now, the final thing I want to get to on the podcast here, news story, hot topic, man. This is a very hot topic. So, a smallish 12,000 subscribers is not small. It's a hell of a lot bigger than we are. A small YouTube channel by the name of Boomstick Gaming released a review for a game called Dead Cells, which is by the French studio Twinmotion, and the game is sort of a roguelite Metroidvania. You get different abilities as you progress through the game, go back and unlock new areas, that sort of thing. You also lose all your shit when you die, a la roguelite games. Now, so Boomstick released his review for Dead Cells. IGN then released their review for Dead Cells, and I wasn't following any of this at the time. I had no idea to go back see when these were dated. IGN definitely released theirs after Boomstick. So then it came to the forefront. This appeared on Reddit, I believe, by Boomstick himself, Sir Boomstick, and he released a video saying, the IGN just had a watch of the IGN review, and the script, the copy that the bloke read out the ideas sound suspiciously like my own. He actually did a really solid video showing the comparisons between the pros used in his own review and the IGN review by Nintendo editor Philip Mewson. And yeah, there's no denying it. The IGN writer plagiarized, essentially, is what he did. He stole ideas and opinions from Boomstick Gaming.
This is the thing. I think you could go even further than that. It's not just ideas and opinions. He's sort of stolen the whole article, like the pacing of it, the flow of the ideas, the general kind of wording. Like this is not just plagiarism. This is like it is plagiarism, but it's so blatant. I want to use the word lazy. Like that's a really bad way of putting it when you're talking about just stealing someone's work. But it was blatant.
It's just it's asshole behavior is what it is, and it's when you write reviews. I'm not to the point where I find writing reviews that easy yet. I find them incredibly satisfying when I'm finished with them, but writing them at the moment is hell on earth because I find myself like a wee bit of a perfectionist in that I struggle with sentence structure sometimes. Not that I can't construct a sentence, but that I want that sentence to be perfect. I want it to flow in this way. And this dude has just stolen all of that. He's just copy and pasted this template from Boomstick and reworked a few of the words and things like that. But man, it's all the way his points interweave and everything. It's all the same. It's basically the same review.
Pretty incredible. So in the follow-up to this, so IGN, they took that review down, right? They took it down.
So before, I suppose when this video came up and it popped up on Reddit, it got a ton of hits. Boomstick, power to him. He's got a lot more views off this, which is excellent. I think it's up to 1 million views this video, which is great for him. So the news editor of Kotaku, massive games site, Jason Schreier, who's done some really good stories, one about the development of Destiny, and yeah, he's a really, really good journalist. He also wrote a good book, Blood, Sweat and Pixels, check that out, previous recommended read. He put out a news story about this, saying Philip plagiarized Boomstick Gaming. When that went out, then IGN took the review down, so started taking it seriously because Kotaku gets a shit ton of traffic. And IGN has their name attached to this controversy. IGN took down the review, put in its place a note from what I imagine to be their managing editor or the editor-in-chief. I think it was Dan Stapleton actually who is that, and he wrote, we're investigating this. We will be, we're investigating into this shenanigans, and eventually, it was a day or two later, it came out that the IGN Nintendo editor, Philip Mewson, had been fired from IGN for plagiarism. Okay, so that's bad enough. So that's pretty shitty. Like, it's a terrible thing. It's basically the worst thing you can do in the publishing industry is copy someone else's work. So he's done himself a disservice there. So okay, bad. Then he released a video response to. It was basically to everyone, but it was mostly towards Jason Schreier from Kotaku. I mean, he called him out in the video response, and sort of said, "Hey, Jason, if there's anything else you can find, let me know." A bit of a snarky manner. Jason Schreier then obviously did his. He watched the video response. He obviously did his own reporting, and he also got some tips. People who've, I don't know how they have this much time, but they went back through this dude's reviews and found that he'd also copied sections from not sections, basically the whole thing, from a FIFA 18 review for Switch, which he did for Nintendo Life, and he'd copied that from a guy called Tired Old Hack, whose name is Chris Scullion, who's a Scottish video game reviewer who's been in the industry for a long time and does really good stuff. He'd copied basically the whole FIFA 18 review from him, and following that, Scullion replied, and he said this is some bullshit sort of thing. They discovered another one which he had done on Samus Returns, and had done exactly the same thing. So this dude, he's fucked. Like,
he's basically fucked it, right? Like, he's fucked it as hard as you can.
Yep, pretty much. Yep, he's hate fucked it. So he has he's ruined his career, essentially, what he's done. The best way to handle this, and this is probably obvious, but I suppose if you were caught doing this, you'd think what you would do is fess up, because millions of people are now scrutinizing your work. Fess up. You're not gonna be able to hide it. Make a video response. Say, hey, I'm sorry I did this. You'll obviously get reprimanded by IGN. You might not lose your job, but you'll definitely pay cut or be demoted or something like that. Say, hey, I'm sorry I did this, but I'm really sorry to Chris Scullion, Tired Old Hack, and I'm sorry to Boomstick Gaming for copying both of their work. And be genuine about it. Actually, not just make people feel that you're being genuine, but be a good person and be genuine.
I think this is the issue, though, is you're not going to do that, because to be a plagiarist in the first place, you're going to be a not so great person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Like, what comes first? So.
Yeah. So the video response he put out has since been pulled down, but I did watch it before it got pulled down, and it's pretty. It's this dude feeling. I don't know, man. Like, I can't really tell if the guy is just really deceptive and good at lying, or if he genuinely thinks he didn't do anything wrong and he's just delusional. I can't really tell, but either way, he's fucked. So
to sum up,
exactly. Yeah, he's I don't wish any ill will on him, but he's not going to work in the games industry again. That's for damn sure. And for someone who's trying to get a foothold in that same industry at the moment, I would kill to be where he is. We don't have kind words to say about IGN a lot of the time. We don't really like their style of reviewing and stuff like that. But to work for them, Jesus, man, like that's something to go on your CV right there. Like, of course you'd want to work for be the Nintendo editor for IGN. So yeah, that guy has ruined his career. So good luck to
once
him.
Again, to summarize, he fucked it.
Yep, he totally fucked it. But that's all I wanted to talk about in the news this week, and that's the end of the podcast. Thank you all very much for tuning in once again. We are Overcast Gamer. We are, 3 Kiwis, one of whom now lives in Scotland. And we love video games. We love light-hearted takes on video games. We love exploring fandoms. We record the podcast. We do streams every now and then. I do the social media, the Twitter and the Facebook account, and I'll be posting complete rubbish on there from time to time, so make sure to tune in for that. And Reagan, we have a Final Fantasy VII stream from you going up tomorrow. Is that the case?
Yeah, every Wednesday night. So here in New Zealand, every Wednesday night at 7 p.m, so 7 to 9. So wherever you happen to be, you just plug that into the internet and find your own local time and you can come hang out. Yeah, it's a good wee time where, I don't know, we're probably like halfway through Final Fantasy VII at the moment.
Wow,
and,
nice.
I don't know what we'll do next. Maybe halfway through is a bit generous, but yeah, come on, get involved and yeah, hang out and we can have a good time.
Good stuff. And Balthazar, you got anything to promote on the site or otherwise, man?
Nah. I'll be doing. Apparently, this thing's going to become bi-yearly now. Every time there's a new expansion. The new World of Warcraft expansion came out today, so I'll have my hands on that for like a week or so, and then put up another review. And I might just do a state of the game review again, kind of like I did when Legion dropped. Talked a bit about Legion, talked a bit about how the rest of the game feels now that you're stronger and everything's kind of inconsequential. So I'll just do another kind of state of the game on a game that's been out for 14 years now and should probably have a sequel or something rather than just continuing. I mean, we give Bethesda a hard time for not updating their engine, but 14 years, it's a bit of a piss take at this point.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll do a review for that. It'll just be written, not a video. But no, otherwise I will yeah, most likely see people in the chat on Reagan's stream. I'll make more of an effort to be there when he's streaming and participate in
Thanks,
chat.
man. I appreciate that support. It's good stuff.
Nice. I'll try and be there as well. But in the meantime, I think one thing that I'd like to promote is I was dabbling in neural networks in the last couple of weeks, and I found a neat little tool called TextGen RNN. I found a plain text list of 10,000 video game titles, popped them into TextGen RNN, and I got a robot to predict what it thought the best video games of the sort of last 20, 30 years would be. I'll just read I'll read a few off now, just before we end the show here, because I thought it was quite good. Shout out to Minimaxer on GitHub for that, and the idea came by way of a podcast called Robots on Typewriters, which I advise everyone to check out as well. So, let me ask you guys, have you heard of the classic Super Mario Bone from 1999?
Super Mario Bone? Or
Bone.
Super Mario Bone?
Bone. Super Mario Bone, I think, is the way we're going to roll. From 1999, released on the PlayStation 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. That's the one. We've
Nice.
also got such classics here as Lord of the Formula. That was on Game Boy Color back in 1996. We've got Rope Limited, also on PlayStation 2. We've got Donkey Kingdom. That was 1995. Developed and published by Sierra for DOS in 1995. We've got Shark Expansion, which is, I mean, I don't really know whether or not that's an expansion for a game called Shark, or whether or not that's just about making sharks bigger. Remains to be seen. But that's 2009, and that has an unknown publisher, but it was a browser game, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
So it could have been Miniclip
it's definitely it's definitely the latter then, where you just make big sharks. I think it was an online game.
Make sharks larger. We've also got Cup Home AOA, which sort of sounds like a football chant. I can imagine a bunch of a firm chanting that as they walk down London streets or something like that. Cup Home AOA. Probably not that sort of harmonious, but we've got.
It's quite melodic. Too melodic.
We've got Death or Alive, the little known third party version of Dead or Alive. We've got The Lord of the Rings, so that one's classic.
Oh, they just nailed that one.
Yep, The Lord of the Rings from 1995 on the Game Boy Advance. I don't know if you guys remember that. We've got.
I don't know.
Yep. We've got, let's have a look here. We've got Batman Black Ops. So that was from 1996.
Interesting crossover.
And that was on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. Batman Black Ops.
It was.
Yeah,
nice.
We've got The Sims, The Lost Compilation. So
That's perfect.
Whether or not that's a expansion pack that was just sort of sitting in a dusty corner at EA, and they're like, oh, we should probably release this, and no one bothered to give it a proper title. Or it's just it's an expansion pack where you go on a quest to find, a lesser known. Now that's what I call music.
Compilation DVD box set of Lost.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. The Lost compilation, yeah, nice one. ABC and EA together at last. We've got Metal Gear Solid, the second edition.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
From 2009, published by Sega. So take from that what you will. I'll just do a few more here. We've got The Adventures of the World. That was 1992, published by Amiga. The whole apparently the whole world. We've got Silent Fun from 2009.
Interesting. The preschool version of Silent Hill.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I'd really like. Out of all of them, that's the one I want to know what that is the most. And I'll just the last one we've got here is a licensed video game by the looks of things. It's called Scooby-Doo, Nautical of the Buzzard. And that's
nautical.
Nautical of the Buzzard.
Nautical of the Buzzard.
Nautical of Buzzard. There's no the. Nautical of Buzzard. Scooby-Doo, Nautical of Buzzard. And that is developed by Plantanager and is published by WizardWorks Software.
Wow.
So, yeah, if you want to read the full list of those, there's quite a substantial list that I put up. Go to overcastgamer.com, go to the features section, and you will find a robot writes video game titles. You can check all those out. But yeah, in in the meantime, check us out, overcastgamer.com, youtube.com/overcastgamer, twitter.com/overcastgamer, and we are twitch.tv/overcastgamernz. That is right. So thank you again for tuning in, everyone. If we've got some new listeners from around the world, hey, how's it going? We're back every fortnight with a new podcast talking about everything in the video games world. Always very low stakes, often ill-educated. So hopefully you will tune in. So thanks again, and we will see you later.
Goodbye.
And that's the end of that chapter.